I can just do it. Another verse of Yedid Nefesh.
Let me try my iPad, which is right here.
All right. Yep. As we've done.
It's working. Oh.
So
It's freezing in here, isn't it?
yeah, it's pretty cool. So Chai, watch me for the head signal. I made you a second verse of Yedid Nefesh. Tempo. Shabbat Shalom. We start with Yedid Nefesh on page 332. Yedid Nefesh Al Harachaman Mishoch Avdecha El Retzonecha כמו הים ישתחווה אל מול דרך ירב לו ידידותך Adonai Ziv haolam nafshi cholat avatecha ena elna refana la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 la.
Shabbat Shalom all.
Shabbat
Shalom. So good to have arrived at this little refuge that we call Shabbat. This little haven in time and space and the possibility of a little peace and quiet and celebration, joy, amazing. A daughter becomes bat mitzvah. But of course, the most important subject is the one I'm going to open with, which is, where does a ghost go on vacation? Malibu. Why did the ghost go into the bar? For the booze. What is in a ghost's nose? I won't say that one.
Boogers.
Oh my gosh, he knows. I would not have guessed it. Why did the policeman ticket the ghost on Halloween? It didn't have a hunting license. Why does a panda ghost eat? I mean, what does a panda ghost eat? Bamboo.
Boo.
Why did the ghost quit studying? Because he was too ghoul for school. What do you think, Emily? Pretty lame.
I think we can all.
Wait, I have two more. Don't respond yet.
Please.
Where do ghosts buy their food? At the ghostery store. So, what's a ghost's favorite dessert? Ice cream. Or I scream. Maybe that's it. That's probably the way it should be delivered. I'm sure if Elliot were here, he'd be like, Mayor, you're doing fine as the last one. Anyway, you shouldn't let Shabbat pass without a nod to Halloween. This is a class in rabbinical school that of course, is very serious, not to miss Halloween. I don't know. Does anyone really like Halloween anymore? Do you guys like Halloween? Dana, you do. Wow, that is impressive. It's just a sign of your youthfulness, I think. I think it is. All right, well, okay. Yes, Halloween is coming, but more importantly, this is Shabbat. More importantly, Maddie, this Shabbat, we get to celebrate your bat mitzvah. I want to ask you and your sisters and your mom and dad and to your cousin and I don't know. All of you can come up. We need to light the Shabbat candles. Okay, so all of you come up. We're on page 2.
Page 2.
What? Whoops. Yeah, scoot down. Who's holding the prayer book? Here, Maddie, you hold the prayer book. I'll scoot away since I don't have my... First we light, and then who's going to light it? Just light it straight to the candles. Who's doing it? Who's the candle, the match striker in your home? Somebody. Mom.
The Metzitzuf. Metzitzutz.
Who's lighting? Someone light. Come on. Don't be shy. I can't hear. Just light the candle. Oops, there you go. The big one. Just like the big ones. The real Shabbat candles. I know I'm breaking tradition at Beth-El, but that's it. I'd like to be rule breaker. Sort of, yes. Okay, page 2. Amen. Read the English. Amen. You guys do this every week in your home, so I know you know it. Okay, you can sit down now. Great. Yes, thank you.
We continue on page 12 with our journey through the Psalms, with the first 4 lines of Psalm 95. Lechu neranena. Lechu neranena l'Adonai. Naria letzor yishenu. Nekadma fanav betoda bizmirot nari halo. We continue on page 13 with Psalm 96. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, בסרו מיום ליום ישועתו, ספרו הגויים כבודו, בכל העמים נפלאותיו, כי גדול אדוני ומחולל מאוד, נורא הוא פעמים אלילים באדוני שמיים עשה הוד והדר לפניו עוז ותפארת במקדשו ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ לי 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 ירם הים לא יעלו שדי וכל אשר בו אז ירננו כל כי בא לשפוט הארץ ישפוט תבל בצדק והעמים באמונתו Page 14 אדוני מלך תגל הארץ ישמחו עם רבים אוהבי אדוני שנאו רע שומר נפשות חסידיו מיחשאים יצילם אור זרוע לצדיק וישרי לב שמחה שמחו צדיקים באדוני והודו לזכר קודשו
16
זמרו לאדוני בכינור בכינור וכל זמרה זמרו לאדוני בכינור בכינור וכל זמרה זמרו לאדוני בכינור בכינור וכל זמרה זמרו לאדוני בכינור בכינור וכל זמרה
Page 20 לחדודי
לך דודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד ישמענו אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה לך דודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה Verse 2 לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה. מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. Verse 5. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי. אורי אורי שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. As we turn down to verse 9, I invite you to rise and to welcome the Sabbath bride, to welcome one another, to welcome the Spirit of holiness and Shabbat. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam besimcha uvetzola. Toch emunei am segula, boi hala, boi hala. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela.
We turn now to Psalm 92, Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat, a prayer for the Sabbath day. 22.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשר ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור. מזמור שיר השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון.
The middle paragraph of the page, the indented paragraph, Tzadik Katamar Yifrach. The righteous bloom like a date palm. They thrive like a cedar in Lebanon. Planted in the house of Adonai, they flourish in the courts of our God. In old age, they still produce fruit. They are full of sap and freshness, attesting that Adonai is upright, my rock, in whom there is no wrong.
צדיקה תמר יפרח כארז בלבנון יזכה שתולים בבית אדוני בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו עוד ינובון בסבע דשנים ורעננים יהיו להגיד כי ישר אדוני צורי ולא עוולתה בו.
We turn to page 24 as we welcome all of the angels in our lives, those who may be online joining us. This is such a central piece of Shabbat, helping our children, grandchildren, each other feel like we're angels in each other's lives. Page 24.
Shalom aleichem malachei hasharet malachei elyon mi melech malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu boachem leshalom malachei hashalom malachei elyon mi melech malachei hamlachim הקדוש ברוך הוא ברכוני לשלום מלאכי השלום מלאכי עליון ממלך מלאכי המלאכים הקדוש ברוך הוא צאתכם לשלום מלאכי השלום מלאכי עליון ממלך מלאכי המלאכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
We rise like angels for Baruch Hu on page 28. Page 28.
Yai lai la 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 lai la la lai 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 Yai lai la la lai 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 Baruchu et Adonai hamevorach Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam va'ed Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam va'ed leolam va'ed leolam va'ed ya elai la 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 ya lai 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 la 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 lai la la lai lai lai.
Page 30 together. Page 30. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzevaot is your name, ever-living God. May you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening.
Umavir yom umevi laila umavdil ben yom uben laila Adonai Tzevaot shemo El chai v'kayam תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני,
ברוך שמו.
המעריב הערבים.
Amen. 32.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל עמך אתה. תורה ומצוות חוקים ומשפטים אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ויורך ימינו ויורך ימינו ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד ברוך שם כבוד שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד ועד.
Please be seated. 36. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אלוהיכם אמת. Before we turn to Micha Mochon 40, let's offer 37 together. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you're tired or you're rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your eyes, of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot, So you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. Page 40, Mechamocha.
Some of the melodies you've been hearing in the recent weeks may seem new, and some of them may be new arrangements of familiar melodies, and that's because we're preparing for our Bluegrass Shabbat in December and Shabbat Capella in a few weeks. And so we've got some of these bluegrassy country melodies, including this very interesting Micha Mocha, which I hope you'll enjoy. Micha Mocha, who is like you? Who is like you? Micha Mocha, who makes wonders, no one like you. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, nehedar ba'kodesh, nohora tehilot, o sefele. Malchutecha rauvanecha Bokea yam lifnei Moshe Zeli anu ve'yameru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed Yalalayla Mocha, who is like you? Who is like you? Mika Mocha, who makes wonders, no one like you. No one like you. No one like you. Feels a little Enrique Morricone, if you know that name.
Enrique.
Wonderful.
He's here. Page 42. Hashkivenu. The
Hashkivenu. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, leshalom. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, leshalom. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, leshalom. Try with me. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, leshalom. Raise us up, Adonai. You'll spread your wings over us all. Give us peace and keep us safe. Leshalom, leshalom, leshalom. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, leshalom. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, leshalom. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Leshalom, leshalom. לשלום. ותקננו בצד טובה מלפניך והושיענו למען שמך, ויגן בידינו ויעשה מעלינו הידע וחרב ורעה ויגון והרחק ממנו עוון ופשע וצל חלפך וסתירנו כי אל שומרנו מזלנו אתה, כי אל חנון ורחום אתה ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם עד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
Vishamru, page 44.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל עוד היא לעולם, עוד היא לעולם, עוד היא לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Let's rise for our standing prayer, the Amidah, on page 46.
אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Page 48. Baruch Ata Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. El Hagadol, Hagibur ve'Adonai, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. Page 50. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מחלקל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל.
52.
אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש וכראשים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Amen. And we take a moment from private personal prayer, standing or seated. We'll come back together in a few moments with Shalom Rav on page 60.
Feel free to continue your private meditations at your own pace. You can also join me on page 60 for Shalom Rav, the evening prayer for peace. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום.
With that prayer for peace in our hearts, on our lips, we'll pass through and hear the names of loved ones you're thinking about for a prayer for healing. Two, 5, 3.
מי שברך אבותינו מקור הברכה Avotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Amen, amen. Beautiful. The prayers and the melodies and the spirit of those prayers certainly raises the temperature in this room for me, which otherwise would be very cold. Okay. I quote. I saw that, Lila. I've had swastikas drawn on my notes. I've been called a kike while I was wearing my chamsa. Sometimes when I say I'm Jewish in classes, that becomes the center of whatever I say for the rest of the semester. One time, I sat next to someone in my poli-sci class and I put my phone on the table. My phone had a, quote, I celebrate Hanukkah sticker. The person next to me pulled out his laptop with a Confederate flag sticker. He looked at my phone case, and moved across the room. These are all quotes from the new ADL and Hillel Campus Anti-Semitism Survey. 43%, according to this survey, of Jewish college students experienced or witnessed anti-Semitic activity in the past year. From the left and from the right, for me, and apparently really from the data, it feels like a tsunami. Is it too late? Is America doomed, destined to go the way of almost every other nation in history? Have we already traveled too far down the road of a subtle, insinuating anti-Semitism? Can we avoid the cliff? Is it too late for us Jews? Is the die already cast? Our parsha is Chaye Sarah. Sarah dies in our parsha at the very beginning. Abraham dies at the very end. But before Abraham dies, he makes sure that his son Isaac will marry. For Sarah, the die was cast very early on with Hagar and Ishmael. I quote from our parsha, chapter 21, Sarah saw the son whom Hagar the Egyptian had borne to Abraham. She saw this son playing mitzachek with Isaac. What was Ishmael, who ultimately becomes the father of the Arab Muslim world, what was he doing mitzachek? Rashi offers a bunch of answers 1,000 years ago. Rashi says that mitzachek means that Ishmael was worshiping idols in front of Isaac. Or another possibility, says Rashi, he was just mocking Isaac. Or it could even mean, says Rashi and Ramban 100 years later, that, quote, Ishmael took out his bow and shot arrows in Isaac's direction. Maybe it was too late to redeem Ishmael even as a young man, suggests Sarah. For her, it was already a lost cause. Of course, none of us can know if Sarah was right or wrong, but that was clearly the way she felt. But rejection for Sarah, derision and division was already so deeply ingrained in the relations between her and Hagar and Ishmael and Abraham. It was too late. This idea, the notion of too late, is hidden but present in the lines that begin our parsha. Sarah dies, but we don't know why. What happened? What was the cause? The text says nothing. But if you're attentive and curious and perceptive enough, you can hear something important. I learned an extraordinary midrash recently from a friend and teacher, Rabbi David Ingber, who's in the city. It's a midrash about Sarah and being too late. The midrash gives an answer, one of among many answers to why Sarah died. What happened to her? She didn't know, says the midrash, and the text makes this pretty clear. She didn't know about the Akedah, the binding of Isaac, which happened at the end of last week's parsha. She found out, according to this midrash, from whom? No one less than Satan, Satan. Satan in our Jewish tradition is not Satan as Christianity comes to teach it, but Satan comes to Sarah to let her know what her husband Abraham was doing. You might say maybe he was doing it behind her back. Maybe not. But he tells her, Satan tells Sarah about father and son climbing the mountain. Satan tells Sarah about Abraham binding Isaac on the altar. Abraham pulls out the knife, and seemingly at the very last moment, the angel appears. Avraham, Avraham, don't harm the boy. Don't do anything to hurt him. But when Satan told Sarah what happened, he told her in a way that so terrified her, she died, according to the Midrash. She died because of what Satan said. And here's what he said. Your son Isaac, Sarah, was killed almost. Almost. He was killed almost. But tragically, horribly, heartbreakingly, in the space between these two words, killed and almost, Sarah died. The delay was a moment too long. She died in the instant before the word almost. Your son Isaac was killed almost. Are we too late? Has the die already been cast? Was the die cast way back in Torah? Is the scourge of anti-Semitism an inexorable, inevitable, unavoidable part of human reality for all time? Parsha Chayei Sarah might well contain the earliest seeds of anti-Semitism. Its very beginnings can possibly be traced to our Parsha. Ramban, Moses Nachmanides, not Maimonides, Nachmanides said this about chapter 16 just last week. By Sarah afflicting Hagar, says Ramban, our mother Sarah did transgress, and Abraham also, by permitting her to do so. Rabbeinu Bachia, 100 years later, said this in chapter 21. When Abraham gave Hagar and Ishmael some bread and water, and then sent them into the wilderness as Sarah had demanded, I quote now, one may view the fact that Abraham provided Hagar with bread and water as an allusion to something that he foresaw Abraham concerning the future, when his descendants would be oppressed by the Arabs. Abraham foresaw that the Ishmaelites would hate the Jews more than any other nation on earth hated them, us. It might have been too late, even back then in Torah. Maybe the hatred of anti-Semitism was in the fabric of our world thousands of years ago. But of course, there's something else for us to consider in this biblical text. I want you to hear about three different moments, events in our Parsha. First, Abraham sends his servant to find a wife for Isaac, as I said. Mother Sarah has passed. Isaac now therefore needs a wife. The servant, Eliezer, travels to the land of master Abraham's birth, as Abraham instructed him. The servant arrives at his destination, to the very specific well of water, the local watering hole. You know this story, I hope. And he says, I quote, "O Lord, God of my master Abraham, grant me good fortune this day, and deal graciously with my master Abraham." In other words, the servant said, "Deal to me with chesed, O Lord." Chesed. What's chesed? Kindness. Jonathan Sachs describes it this way: it's love in deed. That's not one word, indeed. Or maybe the one word, is the one word indeed related to indeed? I don't actually know. But Rabbi Sachs says chesed is love in deed. Love in action is the quality I'm to seek for my master's son, says Eliezer the servant. Here I stand by the spring as the daughters of the townsmen come out to draw water. Va'aseh chesed im Adoni Avraham. God, treat me and my master right now with chesed. Uva eda ki asita chesed im Adoni. And then I, the servant, will know that you, God, have done chesed with my master. Chesed, obviously, I hope it's obvious, is the key word. Eliezer is looking for chesed, loving kindness indeed, not just love in emotion. Chesed's the critical quality for the future wife of Isaac, and that's exactly what he got. I quote, Eliezer had scarcely finished speaking when Rivkah came out with her jar on her shoulder. And when she had let him, Eliezer, drink his fill, she said, I also will draw for your camels until they finish drinking. This is the epitome of chesed. 250 gallons of water is what these 10 camels needed. And that's what Eliezer was willing to provide them. I said there were 3 important moments, and this was the first. Rivka sharing her incredible generosity and kindness, her chesed. Second, let's remember what happens at Abraham's death. At the end of the Parsha, Abraham breathed his last, dying at a good ripe age, old and contented. He was gathered to his kin. Vayikberu oto, Yitzchak v'Yishmael, banav. His sons, Abraham's sons, Isaac and Ishmael, buried Abraham in the cave of Machpelah. This is the mitzvah of burying our loved ones, burying the dead. It's called chesed shelamet. Hear the word again? Chesed. Chesed toward those who have died. We do it at every funeral. It's an amazing thing. Despite Sarah's mistrust of Ishmael and Ishmael's mistreatment of Isaac, the boys come together. We all know that losing a parent, a sibling, any loved one can bring healing to deep and long-felt wounds. Loss can help us see our shared humanity, our common values. It can. That's the second event from our Parsha, Chesed Shelamet. And now the third, again after the death of Avraham. Shama Kubar Avraham. There in Machpelah was Abraham buried. And then the text says, Vayashav Yitzchak im Be'er Lachai Roi. After burying their father, Isaac settled in Be'er Lachai Roi. What's that? And why there? What's the Torah telling us? The answer is that Be'er Lachai Roi was Ishmael's home. That's where Ishmael lived. He was sent there chapters ago, away from Isaac by Sarah and Abraham, but now Isaac returns to be near his brother. This also is an act of chesed. The Talmud and many commentators have so much to say about this quality of chesed, and they link chesed to the Parsha and to these very events. Our rabbis taught chesed is superior to tzedakah, and tzedakah is said to be equal to all of the 613 mitzvot. So I'm thinking about our question. Is it too late? Rebecca didn't come too late to give water to Eliezer in the 10 Commandments. Ishmael didn't come too late to bury his father and to join his brother Isaac. Isaac didn't come too late to bury his father and join Ishmael, and then to settle in the little place Be'er Lachai Roi, so that he could live near his brother Ishmael. Actually, all of these acts of chesed came just in time, not too late. But it's important to make the final connection between the anti-Semitism raging in our world and this idea of chesed. Rabbi Sachs helps us to do this. And it's most appropriate that this Shabbat, to rely on Rabbi Sachs' wisdom, because this is the week of his first Yortzeit. Rabbi Sachs is very clear. Anti-Semitism, it's not about Jews. I quote, anti-Semitism has little to do with Jews. They are its object, not its cause, and everything to do with dysfunction in the communities that harbor it. But at the same time, how we respond to anti-Semitism has an awful lot to do with Jews. Here are the keys, the four critical weapons to fighting anti-Semitism according to Rabbi Sachs. First, we must strengthen the security of our Jewish venues. This is critical. And led by Stu Botwinick here at Beth-El and the federal government, we're doing a very solid job at that. We've received enormous support and put it to invaluable use. Second, while we do have lethal enemies, says Rabbi Sachs, we also have loyal friends. And Rabbi Sachs says they are many and strong, our loyal friends. Third, he says, Jews are the most admired of all minorities. We cannot fight anti-Semitism alone. The victim cannot cure the crime. We need to make friends who will stand with us and help lead the fight. This is best done, he says, by explaining how anti-Semitism endangers everyone. Because the hate that begins with Jews never ends with Jews. In a word, I think he means we must become educators. We must be at the forefront of education about hate against all people. Because hate knows no bounds. That is task 3. To educate the world that hate is like water. It goes everywhere. It doesn't stop with any single people. And lastly, although at times our history has been written in tears, I'm quoting Rabbi Sachs, we have outlived every empire and every civilization that sought to destroy us. Our spirit, symbolized by the Hanukkah candles just in about a month, is indomitable. Where others spread darkness, he says, let us spread. We must bring light. That's the fourth weapon in our fight. For me, this is the most important, honestly, because securing our venues, building partners with prominent non-Jews, those are jobs for the few. Most of us aren't so involved in those tasks. But educating young people that hate is like water, it's not about Jews. What must be about Jews is bringing light. Chesed. Chesed is the central job description of every Jew. I want to tell two stories before I close. Rabbi Sachs tells one of them. In 1966, an 11-year-old black boy moved with his parents and family to a white neighborhood in Washington, D.C. Sitting with his 2 brothers and 2 sisters on the front step of the house, he waited to see how they'd be greeted. They weren't. Passers-by turned to look at them, but no one gave them a smile or even a glance of recognition. All of us actually have felt something of this at moments. All the fearful stories he'd heard about how whites treated blacks seemed to obviously be true. Years later, writing about those first days in their new home, he says, I knew we were not welcome here. I knew we wouldn't be liked here. I knew we would have no friends here. I knew we should not have moved here. And as he was thinking those thoughts, a white woman coming home from work passed by on the other side of the road. As he was thinking those thoughts, she turned to the children and with a broad smile said, welcome. Disappearing into the house, she emerged minutes later with a tray laden with drinks and sandwiches, which she brought over to the children, making them feel at home. That moment, the young man later wrote, changed his life. It gave him a sense of belonging where there was none before. It made him realize at a time when race relations in the U.S. were still fraught that a black family could feel at home in a white area and there could be relationships that were colorblind. Over the years, he learned to admire much about the woman across the street. But it was that first spontaneous act of greeting that became, for him, a definitive memory. He adds that it was no coincidence that she was a religious Jew. In the Jewish tradition, he notes, such civility is called chesed, the doing of acts of kindness, which is in turn derived from the understanding that human beings are made in the image of God. This young man, his name is Stephen Carter, eventually became a prominent law professor at Yale University and wrote a book about what he learned that day. That book he entitled Civility. I want to mention actually 3 other books just by name because they tell very real stories about haters, neo-Nazis, white nationalists, racists who gave it up. The books are The Gift of Our Wounds, Rising Out of Hatred, and Acts of Faith. At bottom, these individuals, these racists who came to hate their hate, they stopped hating and changed their lives. And at bottom, their transformation was all for the same single reason: tiny acts of chesed by other people. People who owed these haters nothing. Those people had good reason to hate them, actually, but instead performed acts of chesed, unearned, undeserved acts of loving kindness. Those acts transformed the decisions and the destiny of these haters. I don't pretend that Kumbaya will destroy haters or anti-Semites. Neither does Rabbi Sachs. Kindness, chesed alone is not enough to fight hate. We must fight it on every front. But all of us must be the difference, must do our part. There's a critical, necessary role for every one of us. And I want to close with one final story by Rabbi Roli Matilan, a very precious teacher of mine in New York City. It's a story about Abraham Joshua Heschel, who was from a distinguished Hasidic family. He escaped Europe and got to the U.S. in 1940 and almost instantly became one of the most revered, respected Jews in America. Rabbi Heschel told this story that in 1961, there was a gathering of over 2,000 clergy people in Washington, D.C. They came to publicly oppose the Vietnam War. Some of us actually might know, and it's possible that someone was there. Someone at Temple Beth-El no doubt was there. They stood before the White House. Rabbi Heschel spoke, and he told a story of a 7-year-old child whose rabbi was teaching him the biblical story of the Akedah, the binding of Isaac. The rabbi was telling the 7-year-old that Isaac was on his way up Mount Moriah with his dad. The boy lay down on the altar. He waited on the altar to be bound, and then in an instant, Rabbi Heschel seemed to evoke his own childhood. And he switched Rabbi Heschel to first person. This is, as I said, in front of all the clergy. He said, "My heart began to beat even faster as the rabbi told the story. My heart sobbed in pity for Isaac. Behold, Abraham lifted the knife, and now my heart froze within me in fright." And suddenly the voice of the angel was heard. "Abraham, Abraham, lay not your hand upon the child, for now that I know you fear God." And I, Abraham Joshua Heschel, broke out in tears. But the rabbi was confused, and he said, "But my boy, why are you crying? You know that the story continues that Isaac was saved. He wasn't killed." And Rabbi Heschel said, "But Rabbi, supposing the angel had come too late?" And the rabbi responded, "He comforted me and said, 'You know, the angel always comes on time.'" And Rabbi Heschel responded finally, Yes, an angel cannot be late, but humans made of flesh and blood may come late. And so I pray, I hope we all pray, that America will not come late. Americans will not wake up too late. Of course, it takes more than our prayers. Each of us has an act of chesed that is uniquely ours. There is a secret chesed for every one of us. And with every act of chesed, God willing, each of us will do our part in ensuring that when it comes to hate, we won't be late. Olam chesed yibaneh.
Please rise. Olam chesed yibaneh, ya la 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 la. Olam chesed yibaneh, ya la 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 la. Olam chesed yibaneh, ya la 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 ya la la. Olam chesed yibaneh, ya la la la. I will build this world from love. Ya la 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 ya la la. And you must build this world from love. Ya la la ya la. And if we build this world from love, ya la la ya la, then we will build this world from love. Ya la la ya la. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol
282, 287.
Bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad.
Please be seated. As always, before we end, we remember loved ones. We try to channel all the acts of chesed that they did for us. We remember observing the Yortzites, the anniversary of all these beloved family members and members of Temple Beth-El. If you hear the name of a loved one, please feel free to rise. Mildred Abrams and Leon Abramson, Mildred Asher and Jenny Brandeis and Norman Brandeis. Maybe it's Brandeis. Can't remember. Pearl Doblin and David Freed, Yetta Harnick, Bernice Hirsch, Tobiah Levkovich, and Alice Leibowitz, Irving Nadell and Sylvia Reisman, Rosalind Reisenberg and Herbert Reisenberg, Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, Florence Schwartz and Saul Schwartz, Daryl Mark Seaman and Stanley David Seaman, Alexander Stepaniak, Charlene Sikora, Isaac Zimmerman, and Martin Stern. If there's someone you're remembering, want to share their name, or if I mispronounced a loved one, forgive me, and please feel free to share the name correctly. Okay. If it's your custom to rise with the mourners, please feel free to do so. We're on page 294. 294. Yitkadav, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
B'yalma divrach cheruteh v'yamlich malchuteh. V'chayechon v'yamechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael bagala v'zman kariv v'imru amen.
Amen.
Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam naseh. V'yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yit'alal. Shemei dekudesha brechu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Damiran b'yalma v'imru amen.
Amen.
Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru
Amen.
amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel. And let us say one last time, Amen. Please be seated for a moment. A couple quick announcements. Torah study tomorrow at 9. Oh, the Zoom will open at 9. The learning at 9:15. Lay-led virtual minion immediately to follow. But way more importantly than that, Shabbat morning service here. Bat mitzvah, you, Madison, Tak, Maddie, very excited and proud to be able to celebrate with you and your family. That's tomorrow morning at 10:30. Sunday through Tuesday, trick or treat for non-perishable food and toiletries. So we're asking all our TBE families and kids to collect non-perishable food and toiletries for donations to St. Al's Pantry for families in need and drop it off on Sunday. That's this Sunday, between Sunday and Tuesday.
There's a bin in the lobby.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Cantor. Monday, the day after Sunday, midnight run, 7 p.m. to midnight. We'll be sorting all kinds of wonderful clothing and toiletries to homeless in Manhattan, and it'll be leaving from Temple Israel. Thursday, November 4th, a brotherhood installation dinner for all of us brothers. I think the sisters are welcome too. Isn't that the case? Thank you, Sandy. Yes, thumbs up. All right, lots of other things going on. Next Sunday, Sisterhood Rosh Chodesh with Rabbi Tara. Consult our announcements and activities. Lots going on. Thank you to Cantor, Adam, and Shai. So much beautiful, beautiful praying, and we're grateful to you both. And we want to close with Kiddush and Motzi. Tak family, come on up right here. Same place. I'm pouring the wine for you now. The wine that comes in the form of grape juice. Special New York State Concord grape. Vintage year.
Vintage Tuesday.
Vintage Tuesday, your mom's favorite wine. Okay, someone pick up the Kiddush cup. We're on page 5. You want a prayer book there? Someone want it? Here, I'll turn it.
Never hurts.
It's there, page 5. Page 5. All right. Who's picking up the Kiddush cup, the wine glass? Got it. Haley's got it. Yay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu ושב קודשו ויהבהו רצון הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה בראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Take a drink. You're old enough. Come, somebody has to drink it. We can't leave until someone takes a
Maddie,
drink.
take a drink.
Dad, take a drink. All right. Maddie, will
Dad,
you open up
then-
the challah,
then Maddie.
the challah bag and take out a challah, little chalet? What is it called? Little chalet. I don't know where that word came. Mini challah.
Chalatit,
What do you call it?
chaltait.
Chalet? I don't know. Whatever. Okay, raise it high or two. Put them together.
Chaltiot.
Baruch
atah
Sorry.
Baruch atah Adonai
Put 'em together,
Eloheinu
put 'em together.
melech haolam Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Take a bite.
Take a bite. One of them or both. I don't know. they're like the 10 Commandments. The two.
Yeah, shnei luchot.
Yeah,
Shnei chalot.
exactly. All right. Share with your family, and we'll close. Why does everyone rise?
We're going to close with Osei Shalom. Osei Shalom bimromav. Ya'aseh Shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'imru, imru, amen. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.